corporate leadership and team development expert, and welcome to a bonus episode. And on these episodes, what I like to do is take a deep dive in one of the pieces of information that I gave you throughout the week. We're on episode 2 of the Employer Retention Series, and we talked about recently another reason why leadership development and how you lead needs to evolve. And one of the areas that I think is really important to do a deep dive in is in the area of work-life balance. Remember, individuals don't typically quit the organization, they typically quit the leader. And what we don't want to do is, as leaders, I've been looking at statistics and information and data, is we need to make sure that we are incorporating a process where we can start to create more of a work-life balance, because that is what the needs of our team members are looking like. And like I mentioned on the episode, is that COVID really allowed us to self-assess. A lot of us had to recognize there were some breakdowns in our family. And I always do in my training where I talk about time management and how we really need to be resilient as workers, is when we look at the area of how much energy we expel in the workplace. And what happens? We go home and we lack that energy. We don't have that energy that we gave at work anymore. And we come home tired, stressed out. We can't really give as much time into our spouses or our children or our loved ones or even for ourselves. And now it causes more stress. And if there's stress at home, it sometimes does go into the workplace. I talked about the suicide rates and the things happening in the world, and a lot of times it is related to stress and relationship management, and we really need to start considering the mental health of our team members, because if their mental health isn't good, then that's going to affect their productivity. And it's more than just their productivity and revenue. It's really making sure that our team members, we care about them and we're showing that we support them, and we want to make sure that they are in a good place so they can show up effectively at home and in the workplace. So let's talk about work-life balance and why that's important. If you're out there right now, think about it, reflect. This time in COVID-19 and being at home for weeks at a time, what did you really learn and identify within yourself or within your family, or areas that you needed to improve on just because you were at home, because you finally had time to reflect and sit down and take a breather? And that's why work-life balance is so important. Again, we want our team members to show up and really put all their energy and time into really pushing our mission and our vision, but we don't take time to pour into them or allow them to pour into themselves. So how can we do that? Now let's look at some statistics. It shows out there that at least 83% of people are dealing with some workplace stress. 83%. Have you ever been stressed out at work? And what do? You just push it to the side and you keep pushing through. And then, like I said, you go home and you don't even have any energy because you've been pouring so much energy into work. And we don't make sure that our energy is right or take a break or anything of that. We just push through it. And over time, that stuff accumulates. And now it's turned into stress. And now you're stressed out at work. And now it's affecting different areas of your life. So 83% of people are dealing with some level of workplace stress. Now let's continue. It says that 43% of team members really think that their leaders care. Only 43%. So you have a large number of individuals, 57%, that don't really think their leaders care about work-life balance or their stress. Yes, 43% is it's maybe a good number from your perspective. And again, this doesn't apply to every organization, because there are some organizations that are really, really great at ensuring that their team members have that balance. But of all these people who did this assessment, 43% believe that their leaders care. So do you care about that balance? What about even for yourself? How does it feel when you can have a day off? It feels so good, right? When you have that day off and you go back, you're like, man, I needed those 3 days. So we want to make sure that just like we need it for ourselves, that we care that our team members have it as well. And then finally, let's look at the cost of work-life balance and not having it, and having stress in the workplace. It costs companies up to $300 billion. $300 billion. And unfortunately, the sad part is that workplace stress leads to about 120,000 deaths annually. 120,000 people pass away because of workplace stress. 120,000. And that incorporates things like suicide. And we want to really make sure that this is something that we take very, very serious. Because yes, work continues. And I tell a lot of people as well, when we're talking about workplace resiliency and becoming resilient, that yes, the workplace will move on, hire new personnel. But what about that family that's affected? What about the breakdowns there? What about those children that are affected because they lost that mother or that father? we really want to make sure that we start to care for our team members a lot differently. So we need to look at that. What can we start doing as leaders to make sure that this is something that is on the forefront of what we do? What is something that we can start doing? So one of the things that we want to start considering is when we're having these ongoing conversations is doing check-ins. So how often are you checking in with people and actually asking them, how are you doing? Unfortunately, recently we heard that within the season of COVID, there was at least one suicide every month within military personnel within our, major command. And that's hard to think of because one life, every single one, even though it's one person a month, their life matters. That's a family affected. That's an organization affected. And now it's like, oh man, why is this happening? What is happening in the workplace where maybe we're not in tune or we're not aware of it? And of course, it's not our specific fault that happens, but what can we do to really make sure that we are supporting our team members a lot more effectively? So what about those check-ins? And it's not the check-ins about work, but have you asked your team members, how are you? How are you doing? How are you dealing with stress? Is there anything within your workspace that is stressing you, that's bothering you, that we can do better, maybe a process improvement that we can incorporate to make this process better for you? Are you getting along with everyone? Is there a breakdown with communication? Is there a breakdown with communication with me? Am I expecting more from you? And maybe you're saying, whoa, you're asking for me to do all these things, but I don't have the capacity to do it. What is wrong? How can I help you? How can I support you? And making sure, like I said, you're having these regular conversations with your team members so they can have that trust and feel that they can come to you when they do feel stressed or overwhelmed. So have those regular check-ins, not about work, but making sure you're checking in with your team members to see how they are doing as an individual in regards to stress and their mental health. The other thing that's really great to do is get with your HR department and find out what resources are available. A lot of us sometimes don't know what the company might offer in the aspect of stress management, of maybe some mental health therapy or some support. So it might be you just getting with the human resources department and saying, hey, can you send out emails to the team maybe, every month to let them know what's available? Or can you give me the resources that you guys have? And I'm going to create a one-sheet document and you're going to maybe have it posted or handed out to everyone so they can have it in their cubicle or their workspace so they know what resources are available. A lot of people don't realize that maybe their health benefits have those resources. A lot of people don't realize that their health benefits have resources to help them. Or they don't know that the company offers something that might support them in those areas. So get with your HR department so you can provide something to your team members to say, hey, if they do tell you there's a problem, you can have something you can give them, or also passing that or emailing that to them so they can have it available to them. So that's another thing. The other thing, again, I mentioned it before, does teleworking, is it working? If you and your team thrived or worked out just fine while in the teleworking space, continue to do it if possible. Again, it cuts back in so many ways. And again, there's no big investment to say we're going to continue to have our teams telework. So if that's something that you can start incorporating maybe 2-3 times a week, and maybe there are a couple of days a week that your team members have to come in, then do that. But if teleworking worked, if that benefited your team, continue it. And always remember, you can ask your team members, how was it? How was this experience? What was good about it? What didn't you like about it? Because I know there were some team members in my organization that actually prefer to be in the office. And that's okay. Some people might not want to telework. But for people who do, who thrive, or who need it just so they can have that balance, incorporate it if it works. And really come up with a plan that works out for you, the team, the organization, and of course your clients. Another great thing that you want to do, of course, is something you want to incorporate, or maybe you can incorporate it periodically, is maybe half days. Maybe really looking at your paid time off. And maybe just really revamping those days and those opportunities that people can have a mental health day or a me time day, if that's something that your organization really wants to support. You might be a CEO listening, or someone that has influence to make those recommendations, but you never know how maybe that mental health day a month, or you can give it like a really catchy name. And this could be something that people can utilize once a month so they can have some free time. Really start promoting and pushing people to take their leave, take some time off, go on that vacation, or just take a day off to really just reset and relax your mind. Those are things that you want to promote in the workplace, because you never know. I'm one of those people who rarely ever take time off. I really told myself during COVID and really self-assessing and looking at my needs and the needs of my children to really start taking time to have that time off for myself as well, because sometimes I just need to be away from everyone for maybe a few hours and just be able to go to the store, go get my hair done, go get my nails done, go relax, or just have some me time without any distractions. And that is okay. Really start promoting that. And again, the more that you do that and incorporating that work-life balance, that team member will maybe really feel like, you know what, this organization cares for me. I want to stay. They care about my mental well-being. They care about my health. They care about my family. Because again, you have a lot of team members that will leave your organization to go somewhere that has more of an understanding when they need to take a day off. That doesn't gripe or get upset if they say, hey, I need to take the day off this week. That they really are promoting and pushing that. I love the organization I work for in my military organization, because they promote that. Hey, y'all need to take a day off. I know you guys are hardworking women, because I work with a great team of women, and you guys have children and families, but you need to take a day off. So that's something that is a part of the culture. So yes, this is a culture shift. Yes, this is something that's going to be different. But the more you advocate for your team members, the more that you really make this a part of your workplace climate and culture, you'll have team members that are more focused, that can really start working on their mental health, their energy. And again, that will translate into the productivity, the support they have for their organization, the trust they have for the organization. And I think it's important to really start considering the person behind the role. So really start incorporating that process. Start doing some of these things, and you might have some other ideas that you might identify that might help your team members, but do those check-ins. Make sure you identify those resources so you can hand those out. Really start considering what kind of workplace type of hours that you can start creating that benefit your team members. And also start really thinking about half days and having those catchy names for a mental health day or for a me, myself, and I day, so your team members can really have that time to rejuvenate and really start creating a lifestyle where they have that balance, so we can reduce this number. And we definitely want to reduce this number of the 120,000 lives that we lose every year because of workplace stress. And remember, individuals don't typically quit the organization. And even though they do, they typically quit the leader. And that's why you need leadership development. And that's why we need to continue to really be innovative in how we lead and become those transcendent leaders that team members want to support and stay at an organization to work for. You guys have a great day.